right, well, God, nice to have you with us on a busy afternoon on a frozen day in January. Good to have you aboard as we talked about what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned. Yours truly, Christopher Russo, on the great SiriusXM 82. We welcome the refugees today. We welcome back Colin Schmelling and, of course, our good buddy Eddie Erickson. 888 Mad Dog 6. That's your two-way sports talk telephone number as we chat to you about what's going on as far as the world of sports goes on the first day of the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope your holiday season was a good one as we take you home here now on a busy week of football, college, and the NFL. And really for the next month or so, throwing the marquee with the contest later in the month. Trip to Minneapolis. We should be in good shape here until maybe the middle, second week in February. How's that? You get home that first week with the game, and then you go from there as we chat to you about what's going on in the world of competition. Well, listen, let's start with the basic, and that is that was as good a football game collegiately that you're going to see in a long, long time. I've always said, and I still maintain, the Nebraska-Miami game, 31-30, is the best game I've ever seen in college football, and I know they got some tough competition. You certainly have the Texas-USC game, which a lot of people with Vince Young like to put up on that level, with Vince running around there like Joe DiMaggio, first downs late in the game and everything else. I get that. The huge team in USC, but for whatever the reason, the 84 game, and I know that's a long, long time ago for most of you, 35 years ago, roughly. 90% of you probably don't even know the game. That's the best game I've ever seen on the Orange Bowl with Nebraska losing, going for 2 to win it. That was an incredible game. And I don't know if I want to put this game on that level, but the game yesterday in the Rose Bowl was as good a game as you are going to witness in a long, long time. 54-48. And yes, I know not a ton of defense, but enough. Wasn't terrible. There was some defense in the game, obviously, with the 2 turnovers both ways, resulting in touchdowns. The game had a bit of everything in the ball game, and the game was, in the Rose Bowl, the iconic setting. I think that helps. That stadium is college football. That bowl, in a lot of ways, is bigger than college football. They don't call it the granddaddy of the bowls for nothing. There's a reason why they call it that, and it basically completely overwhelmed the Alabama game. We'll get to that issue a little later on because I think it's a problem that the committee has to figure out with the 2 games in a one day, but we'll get to that. The bigger issue is the first thing is the game itself. And, God, that was it. And Fowler, who I don't love, I don't think he's a great play-by-play guy. He hit it right on the button there late. Boy, if you were not entertained by that game, something's wrong with you. I mean, that game was so good and so interesting and so much fun to watch. God, what a football game that was. Just as good a game as you're ever going to see. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and I don't want to take anything away from Georgia. We'll get to them in a second, the young quarterback and the running backs and everything else. And they're a little better balanced team than Oklahoma is because they may not have as much dynamic, they're not as dynamic scheme-wise offensively, but they got a much better defense, a little better balance than Oklahoma is. But if you're an Oklahoma Sooner fan right now, you are sick. And you are going to be sick for a long, long time. That little town there in Norman, Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City where the Thunder play, all right, I get it, but still the Sooners are number 1 in that town. You are going to be sick for a long, long time because let's call it like we see it. And although I think that Georgia deserved to win, and I think, obviously they were the better team in the second half, Oklahoma blowing that game is hard to imagine that they somehow lost that game. And I'll tell you the easiest way to say it is they got cute. The play at the end of the half with the squib kick was as dumb a play as I've ever seen. And give Rinaldi credit because he asked Riley walking off the field about the squib kick, and Tom hit that right on the head. Sometimes Tom gets a little too, essayist. He likes to look at it as a big essay. He tries to do that sometimes with these. Do the interview. Tell me what the sports fan wants to know. What the hell are you doing there? And he did. So we give Tommy all the credit in the world there, Rinaldi. And that was a ridiculous decision that gave him 3 points and maybe some momentum. But the Oklahoma team was so tight in that second half and played that game not to lose. And I've said this in sports. I do it myself when I play my little tennis, or I do this and I do that. When you play not to lose, you invariably lose all the time. You cannot be afraid to win these games. And Oklahoma yesterday, folks, for, basically from 6 o'clock on, played not to lose. They had the big lead, or 6:30 on. They had the big lead. They felt they were safe. They gave up that ridiculous field goal, but still they had a 31-17 lead at the intermission with the ball coming out in the second half, and they got tight as a freaking drum. Oh, my gosh. The play caller got tight. The head coach, Mayfield, the quarterback, got very tight. They got tight. The defense was going to give up points because that's not a great defense. That defense, we know, was not a lock to hold Georgia off. You had to keep on scoring at least for the first part of that third quarter, and you had to keep the pressure on Georgia, and OU didn't do that. They had 29 yards of offense in the third quarter, and they absolutely collapsed, and they allowed Georgia to get their wind under them, get their sea legs under them, get their confidence back, and essentially take over the game there for a short period of time. Then Oklahoma has the one drive of note. They score, and then they get the fumble by Michelle, and then the kid runs it back for a touchdown, and that is where the tightness of Oklahoma, they were bad enough in the third quarter, but that is when they, being afraid to lose, came back to bite them in the rear end. Think about it for a second. They got a one-touchdown lead. All right? They had the ball. They stopped Georgia with about 5 minutes left to punt. Georgia punts. Oklahoma ran on 3rd and 4, a stupid quarterback option where the running back, as Herb Street did a good job of discussing it, was a yard away from Mayfield. They pitched it back to him. He got an inch. They had a punt. They did not throw on that series. They needed a couple of first downs to win the game. They may have gotten one first down, but they didn't get the extra 2 first downs. A couple of more first downs would have won that football game. And they would have won that football game. And once they punted the ball back to Georgia, you knew Georgia would tie the game up. You just knew it. Even on 3rd and 10, when Fra made a nice play, you knew they were going to tie the game up. So that is item number 1, where they got tight and conservative. They ran the ball 3 or 4 times in a row. They didn't use the clock properly. They did not realize that the first down there was imperative no matter what you did to get it. That was awful. Then the game gets tied, and they got the break of all time that Georgia tied the game up with 55 seconds, which gave them, with 3 timeouts, the best player in college football on their team, a quarterback. They had the ball at 55 seconds left in all their timeouts with a guy who's got a big leg as a kicker. And what did they do? On 3rd and 3, they ran a wheel play down the right sideline that has got no chance in that spot being double teamed or being completed. A bomb down the right sideline. It's 3rd and short. Get your first down, please. Holy goodness gracious. An atrocious play decision. I don't know who to blame, whether it's the quarterback with the wrong read, Riley, the head coach, who had a great first half, and then coached the game like an amateur in half number 2. An atrocious play call, so they got a punt. They got a break that I thought he wasn't going to do it, Kirby Smart, who was conservative himself in this game. A couple of times in the first half, he punted on 4th and short. He opted for a long field goal in the first half, and the kid missed it from 48 yards, 4th and short. I was surprised. And Kirby Short in this spot, 17 seconds to go with 2 timeouts, with a good kicker, took a knee. So they got a break. So 2 sequences after an atrocious second half, they got conservative. And then in the overtime, they played defense first. I'm okay with that. They kicked the field goal, Georgia, fine. All they got to do is they got to put themselves in a situation where they got 25 yards to get to a championship game. So what do? They run the ball 3 straight times. 3 straight times. This is the quarterback who won a Heisman Trophy. 3 straight times. They don't get the first down. They kick the field goal. All right. They get the ball starting the second overtime. You know they had to score a touchdown because a field goal, they would not have won that game. You can't put that on your defense. That's not a good defense, as we know. And if you go into that second overtime and all Georgia needs is a field goal to tie the game, you're going to lose. And so they had to score a touchdown there. So on 3rd and short, what do? They thought 3rd and long. What do? They throw a 5-yard pass play and hope the guy can somehow find his way to the first down marker. He's 3 yards short. Couple of yards short. I actually thought they should have gone for it. They try the field goal, and it gets blocked. I mean, I tell you, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you wouldn't. I tell you, if I was doing sports talk in Norman, Oklahoma today, they would be getting destroyed because that I can't stomach. They blew that game 9 times to Tuesday. They blew that game. You can't blow that game anymore. Forget the idea they were unstoppable in the first half. Forget the idea they had scored 31 points and got the ball started the third quarter. Forget the idea that idiot decided to do a squib kick. Kick the damn football off. Let him go from their own 20-yard line, for crying out loud, at the end of the half. Kirby Smart wants to sort of basically take it easy. He's not going to do anything stupid. He's not going to put a Jack Squirick. He's going to take a knee and get in the locker room. Instead, he gets in the middle of midfield. One pass, play, field goal. And then in the third quarter, they get conservative. The offensive line falls apart. They get conservative. All right. You had a big lead. You got away. Georgia's good to a degree. I'm okay with it. Don't like it because they didn't think they were aggressive enough, but I'll live with it. But then on 4 sequences in the fourth quarter, 2 in the regulation, 2 in the overtime, they played not to lose. And when you play not to lose, you always will lose the football game. And you want to sit there and wax poetic about Baker Mayfield? Go ahead. I'm not doing it. All right? I don't know if he's going to be a great pro. That's a discussion for another day. But he had a chance to put that game was in his hands. And he did not bring his team home. Don't talk to me about that defense. That's not fair. They are not a defensive team. He is the star of that team. He's noisy about it. He's cocky about it. He's arrogant about it. His job as the Heisman Trophy winner and as the quarterback of a team that is winning by 3 touchdowns or 3 scores, his job is, you know what? Give me the damn football. I will get us home. That is his job. And he didn't do it. Bottom line, blame the coach. Play calling every 5 seconds. He's looking over to the sideline, Mayfield, to see what the play call is. I buy that. And Riley gets, but he's 32 years of age. I mean, you know, he's a young guy. He hasn't been in this spot. I mean, you could maybe give him a little break based on that. But, you know, he has to get something. A little paper he's looking at all day. And somehow in his little paper, on 3rd and 4, he decides, let's run a little option with the running back right next to the quarterback. And by the way, before the end of regulation's over, let's run a wheel route on the right sideline, 80 yards. That's what you want to do now? When you had to get the first down? An atrocious job. I don't, it's amazing. And I tell you, Herb Street and Fado did a good job. They did not accent that enough in this game. Kirk needed to say over and over again in that fourth quarter, guys, he's got a minute left and 3 timeouts. You got to let the quarterback try to win you this game because you are not winning that game in overtime. That team is bigger. They run the ball better. They came from way back. That team, you're not getting around it in overtime. Very, very disappointed. 17 after the hour. We continue on Mad Dog Unleashed.